During our training session today, we will be looking at, and our expected outcomes are to understand the clearinghouse, understand the premium service, and then do a deep dive into the analysis-ready, file rerun, signature and snapshot reports, and data visualizations. Here at the Clearinghouse, our value to you is that we are you. We're a nonprofit organization that's trusted, secure, maintains 98% of the United States data coverage and usage, and we come up with innovative ideas and solutions to help you use your data. The premium service value proposition. Our premium service was designed in incubation with member institutions such as yourself. Those member institutions were looking for a solution that was automated, intuitive, action-oriented, comprehensive, and enabled a collaboration among their peers. Therefore, we've created StudentTracker Premium Service, which turns reactive to proactive processing. The service contains 4 key elements, which we will look at each of these 4 key elements today during this training session. Our analysis ready transforms detailed reports into 1 row per student. Our request file rerun is an efficiency savings by allowing you to rerun files up to 4 times in a 365-day period. The signature and snapshot reports takes our nationwide reports and provides a sector and institution level report, allowing you to compare your institution with the national sectors. And finally, the data visualization is an integration tool that integrates reporting with graphics for more compelling stories about your students in your file, as well as the students that's coming through your enrollment reporting files that we capture part of our research center. The analysis-ready file is transmitted via your secure FTP account that you have today. This analysis-ready file will come in addition to the detailed file aggregate report and the summary report that you are receiving today. The analysis-ready transforms the detailed report, however, allowing 1 student per row with up to 8 consecutive years of reporting. It also will calculate the time lapse between different educational milestones, and it's organized. Let's take a look at it. First off, we're providing a data dictionary that takes the cells in the file, in the report, and breaks each of the items out. This data dictionary comes complementary with the service that you would be setting up for the StudentTracker Premium service. It will provide you with the column, such as A, the field name, such as entering cohort year, the field format, such as numeric 4 digits, coupled with the field definition, which is the year of the search date provided in the request file. For example, if the search date is 2010-06-05, then the entering cohort year is 2010. It takes each element of your file and breaks these out accordingly. Let's take a look at what one of the files may look like. So if you open up the analysis-ready sample file contained with fictitious information that you may recognize some of the names. Our StudentTracker report essentially will provide for you the entering cohort year that we've calculated based off of the date that was provided in the original file. We also are including the school code your unique identifier should you have recorded one. We provide the record if it has been found or not found, the first, middle, and last name of the student, along with if the student has a suffix. We also provide you the date of birth that allows you going back to check and validate that in fact it's the correct student that you previously sent to us. If there's any request or return fields, along with the original search date. Some of the new information that you see on our file is we are providing to you our classification if the student enrolled at the submitting institution is retained or is in retention, meaning the student has returned for a second year at your institution. Column M. Column N is providing if the student has enrolled at another institution for second year, simply classified as persistence. The date range of year one is uniquely identified, along with year one enrollment found at the submitting institution. Then we go through and we provide year one at the highest level degree of certification from the submitting institution. So we're providing everything out by the submitting institution. Column T, we start with our school code branch of the first different two-year institution. By looking at the United States footprints across the United States and enrollment trends, we identified that many students started at a two-year institution. In this case, it was important to institutions to identify which two-year institution and which students originally started at two-year institution. Therefore, we will capture this in our analysis ready through the field column T, year one, school code branch of first different two-year institution attended, along with name of first different two-year institution attended. So you have both the school code as well as the different two-year institution, the physical name. Year one is the date of first enrollment at the first different two-year institution. Then we have highest level of credential earned from a different two-year institution, school code from a different two-year. This allows you in these columns, W, X, Y, and Z, you're able to quickly identify should the student have attended one two-year institution and transferred to a second two-year institution, you are able to find that information out here. Then we start with the four-year institution attended, and we do the exact same thing that we did in the previous file. We're identifying our first name of our first different four-year institution, the name of our first different, so essentially we have all of the elements there for our four-year institution, as well as our highest level of credential earned from a different four-year institution. And we go out and we start breaking different components out. Then we're providing a date range for year two. So we do everything that we did for year one. We start over with year two, enrollment found at the submitting institution, and essentially do that same process for up to 8 years. At the end of our return of 8 years, we then start a new field under column F like Frank, L like Larry, where we talk about the number of days elapsed between search date and the start date at the first instance of different two-year institution cumulative. We have heard from talking to institutions this was highly relevant information that was desired. Institutions were looking for an unbiased party to help calculate the number of days elapsed between the search date and the start date at a first instance of a different two-year. This allowed organizations to better understand the persona of their student and how often and how long students took breaks between academic performance. We then provide that same information from the different 4-year, so different 2-year, different 4-year, and then we provide the pattern of first enrollments based on college level. We look at our highest credential level ever earned. This would be essentially the associate's, the bachelor's, master's, or the doctorate level. And then we look at the number of days elapsed between the search date and the award date of the highest credential level earned at the submitting institution. And the same thing we look at for the zip code of the highest level of degree or certificate earned from a submitting institution, and do the same thing from a 2-year, which you could see they have the A for the associates. We look at the number of days lapsed between between the search date and the award date of the highest credential level ever earned at a different 2-year. Allows you to really start creating more analytics around your students' performance and outcomes across their education career. It will also show you the number of days lapsed between the search date and the award date of the highest credential ever earned at a different 4-year. Our analysis ready, I will state, has been the #1 item that people have requested over the years across our StudentTracker product. It is rather important because it allows you the transparency to your students at your institution. As you can see from this document, we've organized the fashion so one student can appear on one row as opposed to in today's detailed report where one student may be contained on many rows, which makes the organization and analytics quite difficult for you at the institution. Having heard that, we decided to, in the analysis ready, create one student per row with many columns to actually display and reflect what's happening with that student. At the same time, we've added our persistence and retention. For persistence, meaning student continues on with another institution. Retention, meaning student is retained by your institution. We added the 8 years, looking at it from a 2-year college to a 4-year college, with the very start being the submitting institutions. Then we added the number of days lapsed towards the very end, which is calculated by us here at the Clearinghouse to help you keep organized with how many and how long breaks students took in between their academic careers. Should you have questions about the analysis ready, please place those in the chat box within the WebEx application, and I will answer those at this time. Should you desire to wait, I will also answer questions at the very end of the presentation for analysis ready and or each of the respective products, as I will talk through each of the individual units and give you the opportunity to either ask questions at the time that we finish the topic or at the very end. Okay, it looks like no questions at this time. You can still reserve those and ask those later. Turning back and looking, so we looked at the analysis ready, we organized this process, it all arrives to your FTP. It is the one part of the product that does not appear and will not appear on our online website for you to retrieve. Everything is available through your FTP, as is the detailed report today. As we've talked through, it contains your institution information, student information, the IR-oriented classifications, and the results of the submitting institution. Now let's turn to our second feature, which is the ability to rerun request files. In looking at and hearing feedback from our institutions, we heard that oftentimes departments across campus and inner departments are interested in running reports based off of StudentTracker results. In fact, we've been attending conferences all across the United States in the last 24 months talking about StudentTracker Premium Service and what we were hoping to build. Through that process, we clearly heard from your counterparts, either in institutional research, as where you are, many of you, to our registrars, admissions, enrollment reporting, student services, folks from all across campus, even academic professors. They came up to us after conferences and proclaimed that they had never heard of the StudentTracker service. They heard of some of the results from the StudentTracker service coming into their inbox, but they had never heard or seen the product itself. So we began to ask questions. Some of those questions were, why were the audience limited on what they're able to retrieve? Some of the responses that we heard were simply, the audience doesn't have access to the student level files in order to create the original file to send into the clearinghouse. Therefore, they come to us and we get them the file that they need. We identified that as the lack of the ability to allow individuals across campus to run a file on something that is available and is out there ready to retrieve. Therefore, one way that we saw that we could solve that problem is through allowing an ability to rerun a previously submitted request file. Your individual staff and or you could rerun a file up to 4 times per year for 8 years. However, we've changed the process in which we pull files, where last summer you will find that July of last year we started retaining your file names in our database. So now you see everything by the exact file name that you've provided, this file convention that you provided originally. Therefore, these files will be available from July 2016 files forward, and you will have the ability to pull up to 8 years and rerun those files up to 4 times per year. In many cases, we've heard that this allows the flexibility so that any user across campus with access to StudentTracker can rerun cohort files previously submitted. Oftentimes, that could result in less work on our institutional researchers because they can provide a file upload, and let's say it's an NCAA file, they can have the appropriate person that's submitting a file for NCAA pull back the results and have immediate access to what was available based on the NCAA members that was previously submitted. The second thing is it allows institutions, users across campus to also help with our institutional researchers to follow your student cohort for several years to see the comprehensive outcomes. You can run a file up to 8 years later, up to 4 times per year. That's a lot of file reruns. Let's take a look at what the file rerun process will look like. In the file rerun process, you will have the ability, as you're logging in to the StudentTracker College University, as you do today under Research Services, you will see that there are 3 icons out there. You may already use your file submission log. You may also use the single student search, which is highly recommended should you be looking up 10 or fewer students. However, we've added this new icon out there that's been out there for a few months. It's titled StudentTracker College University Premium Service, titled in the web page as Premium Service. Inside, once we select this, it will immediately take you into the application. It's going to ask me for a passcode simply because I have access to multiple universities. I'm going to look up Hometown University. Hometown University is our internal fictitious college that we've created at the Clearinghouse because we are not allowed to see any data associated with student files in your records without your permission. So if we select Rerun Files, it's going to give us the option to rerun files up to 8 years. However, our files are dated back to July of last year, 2016, simply because we've created and maintained all of the original file names that you've provided to us at the Clearinghouse. What you would do is you can select one of these files to rerun and select Rerun Files. Once you select a file to rerun, it will state that your request has been received, and you can check the status of your file in the Submitted Files log. Please allow time for the file to appear in the log. And then we will send you an email when your StudentTracker reports have been sent to your FTP account. Essentially, you're rerunning the files and having everything run to your FTP account. Once it's selected, but prior to the item being sent over to your FTP file, you will notice that it grays out the box, which tells you that the file is already in process of being rerun. However, if you're interested in understanding who has been rerunning the files, you can select the submission ID. By selecting the submission ID, you will have an audit record of anyone at your institution who has previously pulled the file. You will see the submission ID, and in your case, you will see the actual physical name of the user. Here at the Clearinghouse, where we have Hometown University, all of the users are listed as NSC. Should NSC appear on your file for rerun by user, that means someone at the Clearinghouse pulled that file, and potentially they've done this and required to have your permission to run that file. So most likely someone from your institution has asked someone at the Clearinghouse to rerun their file to check on something. But in your case, in most cases, you will have names of users at your institution who have selected the rerun capability. It will also provide for you the date and the timestamp. So we've run this file on July 18th, 2017 at 11:42 local time, as well as we've run this file on September 19th, 2017 at 15:16 local time, and both reports were sent to our FTP. It will also show you of the file when the file submission was originally submitted. In our case, it was June 29th, 2017. It was sent to the FTP box of 001234ST, as well as your search type of the original file was a cohort search type, and the file status was reports were sent, and it provides a submission ID. Should you have questions about the file rerun, please place those in chat now and or save those for the end, and I will be reading through the chat to answer any questions that you have. One question that has come up is that when you rerun files, are you allowed to rerun 4 over an aggregated period of time, or is it 4 per year? The answer is you can run one file up to 4 times in one 365-day period. After that 365-day period, it will recycle, and you will be able to rerun that same file again 4 times in the next 365-day cycle. Looking into our download stored institution level reports, many people are fascinated by our research center here at National Student Clearinghouse. Our research center at the National Student Clearinghouse provides a number of reports that are used across multiple verticals to help people answer very important questions at the top, from what is the persistence and retention across the country to how successful is the state, a particular state. In this respect, we are creating the completions, a persistence and retention, and we are also providing the national numbers for your school or institutional sector. Let's take a look at one of these downloaded institutional reports that we created for Hometown University. When you select the persistence and retention report for fall 2013 to 2015 entering cohorts, we will see that it is based off of Hometown University. Within this file, it will state to you that about your institution's persistence and retention and tell you the purpose of the overall report. It will also show, based off of the national benchmarks, if you would like to see the latest persistence and retention snapshot published by National Student Clearinghouse Research Center, this would be the national level. However, you're able to see by starting enrollment, you're able to see your institution, full-time persistence, full-time retention, part-time persistence, part-time retention, overall persistence, and overall retention, which is in the purple. You are able to see that same information broken down in a numeric format in a table. You're able to look at the national results for other two-year public institutions. This particular institution, Hometown University, is in the two-year public classification, so our national sector would be the two-year public institutions. Again, you are able to see a table. Then we're able to look at a Hometown University's age distribution for our students, so that we're able to see in this particular graph for Hometown University, we can start to draw correlations such as the number of students over the age of 24's retention and persistence seem to be dropping. However, our 20 and under crowd seems to be somewhat stable at the 70 percentile. And our 20 to 24 crowd seems to be improving, both from persistence and retention, with a drastic improvement across our persistence. Now, just like before, you're able to see the same results on a national scale. In this particular respect, you're able to see that across the national scale, there's been slight reduction in the crowds that were over 24. So some of our volume at our Hometown University is perhaps explained by the simple fact that even at the national level, there's a slight variation, although ours is a little more steep. You're able to again see the table. It also will show if there's persistence by the race ethnicity. We here at the Clearinghouse have been spending a considerable amount of time working on trying to find race data for students based off of your enrollment files that you're providing for financial aid, as well as any previously filed files that were submitted into the Clearinghouse directly for other purposes, such as enrollment reporting from another institution. We will again have the table itself. We see persistence by race ethnicity with a table broken out by each of the races. So at Hometown University, we did not have the right sample sizes. So when your sample sizes are fewer than 10 students or 10 or fewer students, it will not be able to populate a result. So just realize there's some footnotes added to the end of each of the categories that simply reflects the reasoning, perhaps why a particular field was not populated. Within our persistence and retention reports and across our research services reports, there are times that you may not be able to receive a particular report, and it could be a number of reasons why, and I will show you that in a moment. You're able to see at the very end of our reports our definitions and methodology, as we do across all of our research service reports. Quickly looking at our completions report. Our completions report does exactly the same thing in the same methodology. Should questions come up, it obviously tells you you could send research questions and inquiries. Your feedback is welcome to our NSC Research Center. In this case, it shows you your data tables from the very beginning. This is looking at your 6-year outcomes and first completion for students starting at your institution by enrollment intensity. This is perhaps one of the most popular reports at the national level, is understanding across students what the 6-year outcomes look like. So you can see that we've calculated our 6-year outcomes across our sectors with Table 2A corresponding to the exact same table at the federal national level. Showing you the complexity, or ultimately the comprehensiveness of these overall reports in themselves. You see both graphical and table to remove complexities. This one's a total of 14 pages. Because we're simply reflecting both our tables as well as our graphical representations, and it ends on page 14 with your frequently asked questions. One of the main questions that we continue to hear is that these completion reports must be at the branch level, which is essentially your 00 branch according to the IPEDS numbering conventions. This report can differentiate from IPEDS simply because students who are part-time enrollment intensity categories are based on enrollment status in the terms of enrollment, not just the first term. So there's some differences between how we calculate it here at the Clearinghouse and how IPEDS would calculate it. And for that, we reflect that in our final page of the report. Going back into our analytics tool, selecting our premium service, we move back over, and this information is all found under the Signature and Snapshot Reports, Download Institution Level Reports, which is underneath the rerun files that we previously looked at. When you select the Signature and Snapshot Reports, you will immediately see that you have access to pull to the national reports here in the very middle of the page under Research Center's website. You will also notice that the reports are available for 2-year public institutions or 4-year public-private institutions. Our 2-year private institutions are not currently available for our Signature and Snapshot reports. Again, you must have at least 50 students in a defined cohort in order to be considered for the report itself. This is simply to protect the students' individual information because all of these reports are built at an aggregate level. The belief is that if we tried to do this aggregation level with less than 50 students, we wouldn't have a comprehensive report and potentially risk the disadvantage of the student of displaying an individual student level detail because the sample size is so small. You must participate in our Degree Verify service so that we know that the student, in fact, actually graduated with a degree. You must have been reporting enrollment and degree records to the Clearinghouse for at least 4 years prior to the cohort to give us a comprehensive listing of your reports and allowing us to better understand your data. All of these reports are available at the main campus, which is your branch 00. And finally, you must meet other criteria as established by our research center. We reserve the right, as part of any institution, to evaluate and decide at our research center should we include a report or not based on your IPEDS reporting, your reporting, enrollment reporting, and ultimately our tabulation and computation of your reports. Should any of the boxes not be available for checking, this message will appear that says if you have questions about why you are not able to view reports for your institution, check boxes are grayed out, please contact us. This will send an email directly into the product management team. Under the signature report, you will notice that 2016, 2009, 2008 are all available from a fall cohort of the signature report, which is essentially the 6-year outcome report. No, we are not behind. We just finished 6 years from 2010 would be the 2016 time period, and soon we'll be adding the 2017 time period into our report so that it reflects your 2017 graduates. In the snapshot report, our snapshot report is essentially looking at persistence and retention, tracking subsequent fall enrollment of students who began their post-secondary education in the fall of the previous year. That is our signature and snapshot reports. Should you have questions, please place those in chat now. We can answer those now or answer those at the end of the call. Our next topic is the downloading of the institutional reports. We move over to our visualizations. As part of our new StudentTracker premium service, we are rolling out our first generation of our visualizations. Our visualizations are helping to bring the numbers that we've long submitted to you in the detailed reports to life graphically through visualizations. Some of the feedback that we heard across the country of 470 institutions was essentially people telling us that our reports in the detailed report side for the StudentTracker service were comprehensive, but sometimes took manual work and effort to get those reports in a fashion that made sense or adequately to represent in a presentation. Therefore, we've heard you loud and clear, and we looked at the capability of allowing immediate collaboration of our individual tools and understood the importance of a visualization. Visualizations allow you to bring the student data that was available in our analysis ready file and or student data detail file and bring that to life to tell a story. Therefore, accessing your visual representations of your StudentTracker request file results and our research center's completion reports, identifying influences impacting your student retention and persistence. The logic is by seeing something visually or graphically, it's much easier sometimes to call out where there's variations and allow you to tell the story about your students and across your colleagues and senior leadership team. The ultimate goal of the visualization, just like any of the StudentTracker tools, is to quickly identify where there's patterns and trends and make augmentations to your process and or programs to attract more students, retain more students, and ensure success across your student population. Looking at these, let's take a look at what this looks like. From the home page of the premium service, you will notice there are two icons out there for visualizations. One of the two icons is called Data Visualizations. Our data visualizations are graphical representations and charts based on your request file. We have a second option which provides Research Center Reports data visualizations that are based on Research Center's defined cohorts. This is the National Student Clearinghouse Research Center, not your research center. The reason that we've differentiated between these two visualizations was simply looking at it. Institutions told us through our research that oftentimes they're already providing us with the necessary files to do StudentTracker through their enrollment reporting files. When we heard this, we identified that maybe we could provide visualizations based on your research center reports, but not to confuse institutions. You can very much still provide visualizations based solely off the files that you want to run. So if you're particularly interested in your fellows across your program or looking at individuals that are in scholarship or NCAA athletes, things of that nature, you can simply run those and create a visualization of those students should they meet the parameters. If we select our data visualization, it will open up a screen for Hometown University that tells us that we are eligible to have files processed as early as February 25th, 2017. Again, just like we did on our rerun file, we had to do a start date for any of our files so that visualizations would migrate over, and we would start to migrate these into our visual effects. Again, your students must contain at least 200 students returned in the aggregate report in order to qualify to see any visualizations of your student population. One of the nice aspects is, again, we retain the physical name that you sent to us here at the Clearinghouse. This is rather important. By us creating unique file names previously, it would be virtually impossible for you to identify what file, when you sent it, and how many records were in that file. Although we would have the submission received date and the submission type and the search type for the query, we also were very much interested in how do we make sure that we provide for you the file name that you originally submitted so that we're able to quickly locate that. Should you select either one of these, if we select one of our file names, it will simply populate over for us a report, a visualization. When you look at the visualization, it tells us that this is a cohort file, and it breaks this down immediately by gender of students reported in the StudentTracker aggregate report. These are the student demographics. You will also see the race ethnicity. One thing that I caution is we see the big sunshine here for our race ethnicity. In some cases, you as an institution, such as Hometown University, did not report, or they reported race ethnicity, but their files weren't adequately represented in terms of making sure that they had the requirements of a single category cannot contain a value of less than 10. When a value contains less than 10, we will make all items unknown to preserve the privacy of the individual students within that file. We also have other situations where institutions are not sending us race ethnicity data in your file that's coming over today, which then makes it harder for us to locate that race ethnicity of the student and provide back a response. However, we're trying. The other aspect that we are in the process of adding is we are adding in an ability for you to provide to us if a student has taken a remedial class, as we've added in 2014, and we will be populating that and making that available at the latter part of this year. but you're able to see the gender breakout. Underneath each of our graphical representations, we highly encourage you, should you snag these for any presentation, that you at least provide the underlying messaging underneath and surrounding the item so that all of the references to what is being reported are contained. By looking at it by institution, you're able to see sectors of the institution first attended for students counted in your StudentTracker cohort aggregate file. You're able to see which students attended another 2-year institution, 4-year institution, and a private institution. You are also able to see the top institutions first attended for students counted in your student aggregate. This has been long received as very important for institutions so that they understand when they're trying to have conversations with the other feeding institutions, they're able to have detailed conversations to suggest that you are my largest incoming provider of students. As you can also see, that percentages may not add up to 100% due to rounding, and it represents the top 5 institutions first attended by students who were counted in the StudentTracker aggregate report. If you go up to the premium service, in the premium service, the Research Center is the final option, and the Research Center does the exact same thing that the previous file reflected, which in this particular case, Hometown University does not qualify because one of the reasons above. Hometown University is not a real college. As with our presentation, we will be offering, as you found this particular item, either came out in a newsletter or you found it through the Clearinghouse Academy. We will be making this recording, which was recorded, available to users that are signing up for the StudentTracker Premium service. Signing up for StudentTracker Premium service has started now. We are offering a free trial of the service that started on September 27th and goes until the end of the calendar year 2017. We highly encourage everyone to sign up and appreciate those that have signed up that are attending this training as part of that sign up. Should you have any questions, please place those in the chat and I'm happy to take those questions at this time.